afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the August 21st, 2013 meeting of the Lake City Development Corporation Board of Directors. If you'll rise, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. And Al, can you lead us today? Now that you just stuck a mint in your mouth, a peanut.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Al. Sorry to do that to you. Okay, first opportunity for public comment. Before I do that, we have a few people in our audience, and I've, I guess, forgotten to do it the last couple of meetings, but in a former chair's honor, I'm going to go around and ask people to introduce themselves real briefly. So, Tina, if you could start.
Tina Johnson with the North LCDC Foundation.
Okay.
Frank Orzel.
John? Welcome to all of you. All right. Approval of minutes. We have minutes from the July 17th board meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any moved and seconded to approve the minutes of July 17, 2013. Any comments, corrections, or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this is the time that we do our annual budget hearing. So I will declare the LCDC fiscal year 2014 budget hearing now opened, and look to Mr. Burns to give us a little brief summary of that budget proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a little background for the board and the viewing audience. By statute, the board prepares an annual budget. In the summertime, we have a draft budget reviewed by the board and the Finance Committee in July. That happened as our last board meeting in July, and the board authorized me to publish the proposed budget in the Coeur d'Alene Press 2 times prior to this meeting, which was done. And today, as per statute, we hold our budget hearing, and the board will adopt the budget, and then we send the budget to the City of Coeur d'Alene by September 1st. So that's a process that we do annually. So with that, I'll just kind of give a brief overview of the budget, the proposed budget as is. Starting with the Lake District, the estimated beginning fund balance for the fiscal year 2014 budget, which begins October 1st, 2013, is $2.3 million. Anticipated revenues are $11.2 million. Expenses for the Lake District are $11.2 million. And the estimated fund balance at September 30th, 2014 is $2.4 million. For the River District, we anticipate a beginning fund balance on October 1st of this year of $2.9 million. We anticipate revenues of $1.8 million. We anticipate expenses of a little over $1 million, leaving a fund balance estimated at September 30th, 2014 of $3.7 million. Some key budget comments. On the revenue side, we are using 2012 levy rates for the applicable taxing entities. And once again, LCDC is not a taxing entity. We do not set levy rates. We use levy rates for our budget planning process that are approved by taxing entities like the city, the county, the highway districts, and NIC. So these 2012 levy rates from the taxing entities are used in our budget to estimate tax increment revenues. For the tax year 2012, the Lake District experienced a $7 million pre-Board of Equalization property valuation increase, and the River District experienced a $10 million pre-BOE property valuation increase. As we all know, the Board of Equalization meets in the summertime about now to hear any type of, challenges to assessments, and so the valuations in our districts may change after the Board of Equalization meets. The Lake District draft budget calls for a $6.8 million bond draw on the Washington Trust Bank line of credit for fiscal 14. This will utilize remaining funds from our $16.7 million Washington Trust Bank line of credit. As per our agreement with Washington Trust, included in the budget is a payment of $2,080,000 back on that line of credit. We will pay that every year until the sunset of the district to pay back that $16.7 million. On the expense side, the draft budget includes costs for LCDC's professional contract services for accounting, which is Gorley & Associates. Legal counsel is Holly Troxel and Elam & Burke. Our external audit is Magnuson McHugh, Community Relations, Mr. Keith Erickson, and Government Relations, Molitor and Associates. In our Lake District budget, $46,000 is budgeted for parking improvements associated with the 823 and 845 4th Street properties and the 839 3rd Street properties in Midtown. Once again, these monies are budgeted for site improvements that would occur should a mixed-use project move forward in Midtown in partnership with the housing company and the Idaho Housing Finance Association. The Lake District budget contains funds for demolition and site rehabilitation for 3 LCDC properties on Park Avenue, which are numbers 618, 620, and 622. Also included in the budgets for the Lake and River District is a proposed transfer to the city's Arts Commission for future public art projects within the 2 districts. The budget calls for $79,000 to be transferred to the Arts Commission from the Lake District and $34,000 from the River District. There are planning funds included in the budgets. On our Lake District, we have planning funds budgeted for professional planning services. For example, $100,000 towards potential planning for the Four Corner area project. And in the River District, we have a little over $100,000 planned towards the proposed NIC Event Center should that project move forward, and $200,000 towards engineering planning for proposed Southeast Way roadway improvements should that project move forward. So what we're trying to do is kind of get ahead of the game, putting some planning money in the budget in case those projects gain some ground. The Lake District budget special project reserve line item contains funding for the aforementioned property demolition on Park Avenue, as well as $700,000 in discretionary monies that the board could use towards projects like the Four Corners if that project moves forward in fiscal year 2014. So once again, we put some money aside in case some of these projects gain some ground, gain some momentum. I'd be happy to entertain any questions at this time from the board, any clarifications.
Tony, just a couple things from the chair. Just to point out to the audience and the television audience at home, our fiscal year runs from October 1 to September 30th of each year. So when we're talking about 2014, that's actually going to start October 1.
Yes.
And then secondly, the income to the districts, the figure you threw out there, total figure for the 2 districts, something like $13 million. That was the figure that was in the paper. That includes some borrowed funds. That's not the amount of increment we get each year. So I wonder if you tell people generally what kind of increments being collected in each district?
Sure. The estimated tax increment for the Lake District on the revenue side is $3.9 million, and the estimated tax increment for the River District is $1.7 million, which totals $5.6 million. Once again, these are estimated values using old levy rates that have not been set yet. The levy rates will be set in the fall by the taxing entities, and those levy rates, old levy rates, are based on valuations that could be in flux a little bit until the Board of Equalization does their duty. So that's what we have to do when we budget this time of year, is do a little estimation. And we're usually conservative, and so we've never had any issues. So, but we will have firmer numbers this fall.
Okay.
Tony, what did you say the number was for the Lake District?
$3,950,719
Okay.
is the estimate.
Yeah. Okay.
So the difference between that and the larger, what, a $13 million figure is made up primarily of that almost $7 million draw on our Washington Trust Bank bond to do McEwen Park.
Correct.
So, and then we do get some income from our rental properties as well, and a little bit of interest income. Okay. Other questions?
One of the numbers that's been kicked around, obviously, is the $10 million figure that we have tentatively committed to the college if they come up with the, I guess, the, what do we call them, strings attached.
Benchmarks.
The benchmarks that we've laid out. That money is not included in the budget.
Correct.
For the River District. And if it was, or we did follow through with that, we would have to borrow that. We'd bond, and then we'd have to amend our budget.
Correct.
Okay.
Deanna.
And just to comment on the rental properties, much of that rent goes to offset the debt against those properties.
Good. Correct.
So they are not paid for.
They're not exactly a cash cow. Correct. Other questions of Tony? No questions of Tony, then the public has an opportunity to comment and testify on the budget. So the floor is open for anyone in the audience that wishes to testify as to the proposed 2014 budget. Frank? No? All right. Okay, no questions. So if there are no public comments or questions, then I'm going to close the public hearing portion of this, and the proposed 2014 budget is before the board for action.
Would be Resolution 1303, adoption of the LCDC fiscal year 2014 budget.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I would move to approve Resolution 1303 and adopt it.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 13-03, adoption of the LCDC fiscal year 2014 budget. Is there any discussion? I think it's a prudent budget, and as again, the Tony, with the assistance of the Finance Committee, has done a very conservative job of projecting our income for the year and our expenses. So if there's no comments or questions or discussion, I'll call for the question. Do we do this by roll call?
Roll
Right?
call, yes. Goodlander?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Truffle?
Yes.
Hassel?
Yes.
Caldwell?
Aye.
Hatzer?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Tony. Next item on the agenda would be committee reports, starting off with the Finance Committee. Commissioner Caldwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll start, as we typically do, with the Lake District, and let's start with the balance sheet of the Lake District. The Lake District did receive $147,966 in cash from June month end, and that was our tax increment check received from the county. It was the second large check that we received. The receivables, there's no significant activity. But if you look at the balance sheet down below where we start talking about the Washington Trust Bond Reserve and then Parkside and Ice Plant, there has been some activity there. As you recall, last month we approved making our payments on numerous notes. And so we did pay on the Parkside promissory note $56,469. And if you look at the balance sheet, that item now shows a zero balance. So there's nothing there. We've got that paid off. Ice Plant, we reduced by $7,136. Northwest Place by $12,983, the Chamber of Commerce $1,285, and then the Sherman Lofts property, a principal reduction of $2,380. If you look at the balance sheet, you can see that we have these assets in that we say we're going to have tax increment to pay these items for these various projects, and down below you see the liability, and we just offset them dollar for dollar. So as we receive money and as we pay those down, the two items still balance because we reduce the balance on the receivable and we reduce that balance on the payable. And so we make those principal payments. That's how we handle it. On the fund balance, as far as what we owe, you look down at that $5,669,995, which is the big item on our various mortgages. That's a $41,109 decrease from the previous month. That's primarily due to our typical principal reductions on our payments of $16,714, and then it's combined with a large draw that we took on the Washington Trust line of credit, and then a large payment that we made to them. The payment that we made to them, and it's twice a year, is $1,040,000. $1,024,394 went to principal. The rest of that was expensed as an interest cost. So a little more activity in that area than we typically have. All items that we approved last month. If you go to the Lake District profit and loss statement, that's where you'll see the large change as far as we did receive a large tax increment check, $1,339,503. So keep in mind, we received this large check, but if you look at the balance sheet, our cash balances didn't go up that high because we're making all these various payments that we need to make. So we received $1,339,503. Rent income that Denny was mentioning, $13,244, but for the 10 months ending July 31st, our rent income was $136,216. Interest income for the year so far through July, you see it's $2,721. And Deanna's right, the money we receive on these rentals, primarily goes back to making the debt service payment, and then there's a fair amount of repairs and maintenance on some of our rentals because they need constant care and work. So it's not as though we're making a lot of money on those properties. There are some that are paid off, and that does help us. If you look down at the expenditures, that's where you'll see these various payments, but the biggest one for sure is our large payment that we made on the McEwen Park project. If you see that payment down there, $1,023,194, and that's a large reduction on that. And then you go down quite a ways, and you'll see tax and increment payments of $80,253. But the significant things on the profit and loss were the principal reductions and the interest payments we made on these various items that we had. And so more activity for sure, but the biggest one is the McEwen Park, and of course we're going to have another large bill to approve tonight as relates to that project. Are there any questions on the balance sheet or the profit and loss for the Lake District? If not, we'll go to the River District. And the River District, we'll start with the balance sheet there. The River District did have an increase in cash of $19,295, and that's primarily due to the increment check we received from the county. When I get to the profit and loss, you'll see we actually took in increment money of $536,290. So that cash did get spent, and we'll show where a large portion of it went. As it relates to the balance sheet, we did have the Mill River OPA promissory note, large principal reduction on that of $356,604. We had Riverstone West, no change, there was no principal payment, and then Riverstone West, we had a decrease on principal of $19,541. Liability stayed about the same. They were pretty typical for the month. The biggest activity was just in paying some of our obligations. And again, you'll see that they balance as far as what we have that we're going to collect, and then back down on the liability side as far as what we're going to pay once we get it. If you go to the profit and loss statement for the River District, that's where you'll see the $536,290 in income we received from increment, interest income of $152 for a total of $536,442. And you'll note on the River District there is no rental income for the month or year to date. We don't have any properties out there that are rental properties. Going down a little bit further on the expenditure side, that's where you'll see the various payments that we've made in the River District. The Mill River OPA, which was $356,000, Riverstone West $19,000, and that's really what makes up that large number you see about 2/3 down the page of $376,145. The other line items up above are relatively small in comparison. That is where the bulk of our money went. And then we had some fairly sizable, if you go all the way down to the bottom, interest payments that we also made of $132,273. So really for the river and the lake, fairly active month as it relates to us making our payments once we receive the increment on the various projects that we're involved with. Everything else was pretty standard, and when we get to the payables, you'll see another large payment relating to McEwen. So any questions about the balance sheet or the profit and loss as it relates to the River District? If there aren't any, I might just make a comment on the budget as far as what we do. Tony does a lot of work, and then he reviews it with the Finance Committee, but we try to be conservative on the income side and maybe a little bit aggressive on the expense side so that we think we can come in close to our budget. And over the years, it has proven to be really close to what we thought it would be. So that's kind of how we do the budgeting part. Next, if you go to the payable sheet that Tony just passed out, you'll see payables to Elam and Burke, $37. Hawley Troxel, $3,416. Molitor and Associates Consulting, $509.10. Keith Erickson for the work he does for us on the communications of $2,000. And then we had our annual sponsorship of the ULI Idaho sponsorship of $2,000. So you look at those items, not a whole lot of money, not a whole lot of change from a typical month. with the exception of timing on the sponsorship and those types of things. But go down a little bit further, and you'll see the CNI McEwen payment request that we have, which is invoice number 5, and that invoice is for $1,689,204. You can go to the right side prior to the payment, and you can see what we paid before this payment and also what we had remaining. And Tony, I think you thought we might get another bill in, but we just haven't for any of the other items yet.
No, I was expecting we might get another invoice from ACI for the McEwen 2012 project, but that has not materialized yet.
Okay. So the total amount of all our expenditures is $1,697,166.10. And hopefully everybody, when they came in the meeting tonight, looked out at McEwen. It's pretty amazing what's happened out there in the last, say, 30 days with the basketball courts, the tennis courts, the playground material, and then now some of the trails and rock work. So if people that are viewing have a chance to come down and just walk the perimeter, you'll be surprised how much dirt they have moved and how much progress they have made. It's starting to look like a park, and that's really exciting for us. So, Mr. Chairman, I need an approval to accept the financials and also to agree to make the payables for the month.
Okay, is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the financial reports and the payables for the month. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rod. Very thorough and good job. Thank you. Appreciate the work you do. I'm not sure what we'd do without you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that takes us to Housing Committee. Commissioner Goodlander. Anything to report?
No report.
Okay. I didn't think so, but
Pretty quiet right now. We're kind of on hold with the Housing Committee out of Boise, and so we're just waiting for that. And other than, of course, the Whitewater project that was approved last month, why we're just keeping quiet.
okay. Thank you for that. Parking Committee, Commissioner Jordan's gone. I don't know, Tony, do you have any update there?
Just a brief update. The only thing I would like to share is that, as you recall, the Coeur d'Alene Downtown Association had in partnership with the city, had a free shuttle service that they put in place earlier this summer to shuttle people from the Memorial Field area to downtown to kind of get around the McEwen Park work. They monitored the ridership of that effort through the summer, and they decided that the ridership was so minimal that they discontinued that free shuttle service, I think, right after Art on the Green and Street Fair. So that has been discontinued just to lack of usership. So just wanted to update the board on that.
Okay. Any other comments on parking from anybody? Communications Committee, Commissioner Patzer.
Thanks, Commissioner Chairman Davis. Keith, if you'd join us, our communication coordinator, while he's getting situated here, he's going to talk to us about our newsletter, I think, that's been on the street for a couple of hours. I believe that's the 17th edition. Time's a flying, and the quality of it just continues to keep getting better and better, Keith. You and Tari, good job. Website, outreach initiatives, and videos. So let you go ahead and take it away, Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Patzer. Yeah, the 17th edition, you're right on the spot. It's the 17th edition. It talks, and I'll get into that a little bit later. I think it's pretty informative for some of the projects that we are involved with, either directly or indirectly. So there's some good information there. But I wanted to start with the video that we put together a couple of months ago. We continue our outreach efforts to try and get people to see this video. I mean, it's on our website. We're doing whatever we can to get people to see it. It's a great video. It's short, it's concise, it's informative. You get to learn not only what we're about, but what we've done and accomplished. So in that venue, we recently launched a Facebook venue where we can buy, and I'm not sure how this, is more of a communications person and not the technical person. I can tell you that we now have 34,000 people in Coeur d'Alene that have a Facebook page, and they now get an ad that we, for a nominal fee on our part, I think we pay $30 a month to put our ad, meaning a link to the video, on Facebook pages for users in Coeur d'Alene. And in that time, since we started from July 5th through August 1st, we've had nearly 14,000 Facebook users who have seen, well, there's 34,000 Facebook users, and 14,000 people have actually looked at it, and 400 people have clicked on it. So what we're doing is getting more and more increased views on our video, and they have both options, the 7-minute and the 3-minute option. What I'm trying to do is find out whether we can get any feedback from people on what they think about the video, other than, okay, they looked at it, that's great, they know about us, what are they doing? So I'm looking into what we can do to take a next step on that, and I'm not sure how Facebook works with that, whether it would be, additional funding. But it's worked out well in these first 6 weeks with the Facebook. Meantime, on Channel 19, which we're on right now, we have been successful in, they have downtime when they're not doing the Planning Commission or our meeting or the City Council. What they do with downtime is either they kind of have blank air or they air other things. And they have been, we requested that they air our ad, or our video, and they've done that. And just in the last 8 days, our 7-minute version, the longer version, has run 18 times, and the 3-minute version 9 times. And just to remind you, the difference between the two primarily is between the long and the short is the testimonials or the people who speak out about. I mean, they're both really informative and strong videos. And anyone can see them too. If you don't want to wait on Channel 19 and sit there all day for it, what you can do is go to lcdc.org. It's right there front and center, and click on it, and you can see the long version or the short version. So it's a pretty informative video. So I'm happy with the clicks we've gotten and what's happened there. As far as other outreach initiatives, I've been working with other organizations who kind of share our similar thoughts and views, and to put our link on their website. And just coincidentally, the Riverstone development, which, as we all know, has really started to expand and do really well lately, updated their website recently. It's great. I encourage anyone to look at it. So I worked with them to get a link to our page, because one of their connections is, of course, we had a lot to do with that, is a link to our website on the Riverstone. So for anyone who's watching, not that you would jot it down or remember it, but just so you know, if you go to riverstonecda.net and then click on Our Community, and then Community Resources, you'll see a link to our page. So it would take them there. So it's just another way to broaden our exposure through the Riverstone website. The same thing is true with Jobs Plus or Relocate to Idaho, which is the formal website, is Relocate to Idaho. And then if you go to that website and you go to Why Idaho, there's a link at the top, and then Economic Development Resources. Click on that, and then you're there too. And what that takes you to is our home page, where you've got a link to the McEwen website, to the McEwen webcam, or everything that you see on our home page. So it's good. It's a good platform to broaden our exposure, and these are both really crystal clear, great websites. So I'm happy that both of those entities were willing and even eager to allow us to be put on their website. As I've reported every month, we continue to advertise in the have a little small ad in the Spokesman Review on huckleberries, and also on the Coeur d'Alene Press on their online version. Both ads are doing very well. Usually I get into the nitty-gritty, but to make it simple, we basically, through both those websites, had more than 500 people visit. A little bit more on the Spokesman site. They get a little bit more response as far as people clicking than we are in the press. But I think we're seeing a different demographic as far as who clicks on the Spokesman huckleberries compared to the press. But to broaden that platform, I think it is good. And to see the numbers continue to increase. I do have to share a quote from the salesperson at the Spokesman. She said, and she's amazed because we've been doing this for several months there, that the block, she has never seen a tile lab perform so well. So I don't know what the interest is. Maybe it's the colors, because we have orange and red, and we're all bright and shiny and everything. And plus, we have a good positioning on the front.
Let's
'cause we
hope
got
it's
in
more
early.
than the color.
Yeah, and you know what? And I could break it down for you if you wanted to, because red performs better than blue. And I mean, there's all these. She breaks it down. They're really helpful in that venue. But I think the outreach there is helpful, and people see it. It just is another way to broaden our reach. Another thing I've been talking about for a couple of months, and now we're making some serious progress, is our web updates. On our website right now, if you go to the districts and then you go to the lake or the river districts, there's some great information there, but a lot of it's, as I mentioned earlier, outdated. I mean, the education corridor doesn't have the current information. Still good information, but what I've been doing for the last month, hard and heavy, is really updating, talking to people about it, updating it, and what we want to do with our website on the districts is make it more engaging through photos. We've got new photos, new quotes, the latest information, and I look forward to having all the content updated by the end of the week, and then we'll move it on to the technical stage where it will be updated with the new photos, the new content. Each section includes a quote or a comment or a pull-out, something to engage and really let people know exactly what each project has meant and what the outcome has been. This is something I think we'll need to continue to update, of course, as projects move on. But I'm really kind of excited about it because it's been a long time in the waiting. And there are some of the projects are okay, but there are a lot of, I think, good updates, and it's going to be really engaging. So look forward to that, and next month I'll be able to hopefully report that it's up and running. Again, you see that through lcdc.org. Go on the top tab to districts, and you can see either lake or river district, and it outlines every project with photos. So it's a pretty, it's exciting, really. There's a lot of good information coming there. And then, as was mentioned earlier by Dave, the 17th edition of our newsletter came out. Also pleased with that and the way it came out. We're looking at the Four Corners project. Right now, the city, mainly under the leadership of the Parks Department, or Parks Commission, I should say, is holding a series of public meetings. They want to know what exactly is going to be done with that area, or what could be done. I mean, we've got Riverstone with all the energy. We've got the higher education campus. All this energy, and there's kind of a middle row there that there's not, there's room for improvement to put, and the BLM is involved in it, and the city's involved in it. So there's basically an update, an article explaining the process and when the meetings are, and anyone's welcome to join these meetings. There's also an article about the 2030 Vision Project, which Mike Gridley has been involved with, the city attorney, various other community leaders, looking to what the community is going to look like in the future. LCDC has kicked in some funding too. Interesting article there. Also, McEwen Park, of course, we can't ignore that. It's really exciting to me because I've been down there with a hard hat on and my vest. The playground is now in, which was mentioned earlier, but to see it from afar, it's colorful and neat and pretty. But to go there, and I went there with Doug Eastwood, the parks director, and to see how happy and ecstatic he was about how interactive it was. There's different pods for different kids of all ages. It really is amazing how that's coming together. And to see the first kind of major thing in McEwen Park come together is kind of a cool thing.
He said he couldn't get you to leave.
I couldn't. I was playing on the rocking horse thing. I mean,
You were the
he
one
was
that was
the excitement and
inseparable.
it was neat. I was there for a while. Yeah, I had to get my photos. And then finally, there's in the newsletter. There's also a Q&A with President Joe Dunlap from North Idaho College. We try and profile community leaders and board members And primarily, it's just getting to know Mr. Dunlap, or President Dunlap, but he also addresses briefly the Four Corners issue, which is relevant, and the event center, which has been a topic lately. So all in all, things are looking pretty good. I would entertain any questions.
Any questions for Keith? Keith, I've got one. Is there a way through our web page to get how many clicks are actually going to the webcam for viewing the construction? Is there a way to get an idea of how much that particular option is being used?
You know, I would love to see that, and I think I wouldn't even go to our direct person. I would go to or me personally would go to the city. Kirk Johnson is who I work with there to find out, but I don't know if we can narrow it down if they came through our website or because the city has also got the same thing. So I don't know how many views. So are you interested in seeing how many people in general view it, or
Well,
through us?
I'd like to see both. I'd like to see how many people are exercising that option and how many people, I guess, total views we can figure that are getting there other than our website.
I can check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can look
That'd be
at it.
interesting. Because I think the Johnsons have been very gracious in offering their balcony as the location of this, but as the parking structure moves to the west, all the stuff that's happening is starting to become binocular country. And I would imagine there's probably an opportunity to maybe move the camera or do something different. If in fact there's people utilizing that viewing opportunity. So I think we need to keep on top of that because.
So two things, just to summarize, that you'd like to see is the views that we get, and also if we can move that westward where the activity is.
Or add a second camera.
Yeah. I think those are both questions that Kirk could help me with. I know him well, so I'll work with him and see what I can
think you
find.
could actually probably move the one that shows the 2012 project south of the City Hall. It's been done for a long time. Maybe
I know
move
it
that
doesn't
one
show
to the west.
right.
Yeah. You actually have a pretty good view from the balcony of the library, too. If people want to come down and just walk out there and look, you can see quite a bit.
I know they're talking about, they've got some people lined up to do some osprey nest live webcam stuff, and I don't know when all that's going to come to fruition, but there's going to be some opportunities out there to view some interesting aspects of this park as it develops. And I think we need to keep a hold of that or get an idea of what the actual interest is in that mode of access.
Yeah, I agree on both counts, especially on the better view, because when I go there, it's like, this is cool that you can see it, and mainly you're looking at the parking structure, but it's like, I want to move westward toward the plaza, toward Harbor, the Harbor Plaza and stuff. So, yeah, I will look into that.
What I'm hearing, Mr. Patch, is that LCDC should buy a drone that we should fly over.
No,
Let's not get in the drone business.
No, we don't want to skin that cat just yet. So. All right, well, thanks, Keith.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's all we have, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Unless you
Any
wanted
comments for Dave? A good report. Thank you, Dave. Okay, takes us to Executive Director's Report. Tony, McEwen Park and NIC Event Center Initiatives Update.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of brief updates on these initiatives, starting with the NIC Sports Complex Event Center proposal. As you know, the ball is basically with the Board of Trustees at NIC. They're still doing some due diligence work. I'm not sure if they will take this issue up formally at their August board meeting or wait till September. There's still some energy being put forward on the committee that Dr. Dunlap has put together. So it's getting closer, but I'm not quite sure when exactly NIC trustees will take this up formally.
I thought it was interesting to note that they were apparently either touring or somehow taking a look at some like-type facilities at community colleges, mostly.
They're benchmarking around the country, yes.
Yeah. Probably good exercise.
And as far as the McEwen Park update, as you know, there's a construction meeting every week, and I attend that meeting to kind of get an update from how the project is doing. Project is on schedule. Things are moving along well. As Keith pointed out, the playground area is a major focus right now. As you see, they're continuing to do stepwise pourings on the structure. They do a base layer, then they do a kind of the front avenue base structure. They do those every week, is the way they sequence those frames as they go down. So that's moving along forward. They've got it all mapped out till the end of September, I think, will be the final pour on the parking structure and the deck and front avenue. They're working on the grand staircase, the grand plaza. They're putting up the walls and the finishings on the Harbor House. They're going to start bringing up the pavilion. They're doing things across the board on all the facets of the project, so it's looking good. So no major issues. The other issue, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to bring up, just update the board on, is the vacant LCDC board commission position. As you recall, there were 9 applicants for the vacant board position. The ad hoc committee comprised of Commissioners Hoskins, Hassel, and Druffel met, and they've decided to interview 4 individuals. Interview is a strong word. Visit with 4 individuals for the position. Those visits will happen tomorrow. The 4 individuals that will be visited with are Mick Arman, John Austin, Joe Fabiano, and Tina Johnson. So just a reminder, ad hoc committee, that process starts at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon at the Chamber Building. The final item under the Executive Director's report is the Mill River Seniors IRA Collateral Assignment of Promissory Note. And I will ask Ms. Quaid to visit with the board on that issue.
I think you guys received an email from Tony on this, but this is basically our consent has been requested to the assignment of the note that was issued to Whitewater Creek for the Mill River Seniors Project to their lender. In tax-exempt financing, they do, or this type of tax credit financing, they do a construction loan, and at the completion of construction, they roll it into a permanent loan. And it's pretty typical to see, all of the property related to the apartment complex be pledged as collateral for that permanent loan. So nothing changes, assuming there's no default by Whitewater under their permanent loan. But in the event there was a default, they would take this note and they'd have the ability to sell it if they wanted to, or just collect on it as to pay off their debt. So we did do a little bit of negotiating with them. I wanted to make sure that we were at least made aware if there was a transfer of the note or prior to a transfer of the note, and we were successful on that front. And with that, I feel comfortable with it. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't change your obligation. It doesn't change even who you pay until there's a default by Whitewater, which we don't expect. But either way, your obligation never changes, even if the recipient of the payments does change. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Do you recall the size of the note?
The
dollar amount?
326.
Okay, I was thinking
26,000.
300 plus, okay.
And it doesn't really affect any kind of a collateral or security position because we didn't have one to begin with, correct?
Right,
We've never
and
taken
they
it.
don't have any collateral from us other than the pledge of 75%
Right.
of the tax increment funds that are received from that
Tax
property.
increments, yeah.
So if those funds don't come in, because the tax value doesn't increase, they don't get paid, whether it's Whitewater or their assignee under this collateral assignment.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I am recused on this matter.
As am I.
That puts me to work.
Vice Chair Kaiser.
So is there any further questions of Danielle? And you need a vote on this? Just a motion? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to proceed on this collateral assignment of promissory note in regards to the Mill River Senior Development.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Dave. Board Commissioner comments? Any general comments from the board?
Just make one
Commissioner Hassel.
comment that we had, with all of the people that applied for the board position, we had a large number of very highly qualified candidates. So we had some good choices to make. See exactly these people tomorrow.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's encouraging. We on both rounds of vacancies we've had to fill, we've had that occur, so that's encouraging. Any other comments from the
I've
Commissioner?
got
Dave?
just kind of a general announcement. Doug Eastwood's retiring, as you all know, the end of this month, and they're honoring him with an open house here in this facility this Friday from noon to 3 p.m. So you can come by and wish Doug well in his future endeavors. He's going to be around Indiana. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in talking to him the other night, he's going to continue to work with the Four Corners project and also seeing McEwen to its completion. So he will still work, I believe, as a contract employee.
As a contract employee, a certain
City.
percentage of hours.
Yeah, with a limitation on the hours and, of course, that until those two big projects are completed. But he'll officially, I guess, quit the position of the Parks Director as of the end of this month. Also, one of the things that was brought up the other night was the potential, and we haven't worked out the details yet, this was a Parks and Rec initiative, but in talking about potentially opening picking a weekend in October and maybe doing a little bit of an open house, let people kind of cruise the park out here on the paths and have some informational type of things for that. So that's still being kicked around in the planning stages, but if the weather cooperates and it can be put together, we'll kind of let the community kind of come down and climb the fences, so to speak, for a weekend during a certain period of time to get firsthand views of where their money is being spent out here. So just kind of a couple of general announcements.
Good information. Thanks, Dave. Anyone else? Okay, last agenda item is public comment. Any public comment at this point? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.